so late in starting, but I hope you are all with us on the banks of Ganga for the special Diwali Puja and Arti. Starting as usual with a question that comes in advance, and then we'll open it up to any questions that anyone here has. But before I start, I want to just remind you again that I had mentioned last night, which is after Satsang tonight, we have very special kirtan. We'll have some Diwali sweets and then beautiful, beautiful kirtan. So I hope that everyone can stay back for kirtan. It's going to be a beautiful opportunity to just keep coming back. Every time one of those goes, just take it like the universe is saying, are you here? Are you here? Are you here? It's just yet another reminder from the universe to check in and be present. So every time it goes, just think it's the universe giving you a beautiful opportunity to check in and make sure that you're here. This is my first time being in India and my first time celebrating Diwali. I'm so excited. So since I'm new to all of this, how can I best celebrate this amazing holiday? So we actually got this question. It's been on my list for the last 4 or 5 days, but I've saved it for today, and we'll start with that, and then any questions anyone here has, as always. So Diwali is a festival of light. You'll see all of these beautiful lamps are lit everywhere. And the light is a beautiful symbol. It reminds us of, as I was saying on the banks of Ganga, it's that reminder of when Lord Rama, at the end of the War of Lanka, the Battle of Lanka, where he conquered the demon king Ravan, when he came back to Ayodhya. If you are not familiar with the Ramayana, the 60-second version, sometimes we go into these things in more detail, but the 60-second version is you've got the embodiment of the divine in human form, in the form of this prince named Ram. Embodiment of goodness, righteousness, honesty, integrity. It said that he's the embodiment of the perfect son, the perfect husband, the perfect father, perfect king. So he's a prince. He's about to be coronated as the king. But due to a long story, which we won't go into right now, his father, the king, had essentially owed a promise to one of his wives. And that wife, on that day of Ram's coronation, said, okay, I've got 2 promises that you owe me, and I want them today. One, that my son, because in those days kings had more than one wife, so my son, Bharat, should be coronated as king instead of Ram. And number 2, that Ram should be sent out into the forest in exile for 14 years. Now, most of us would think, well, why didn't his father just say, what are you, crazy? I mean, to most of us, that would be our reaction, right? If someone says to us, take your son, your beloved son, don't give him his due, cause him to suffer, send him out, we'd say no way. But it's actually a beautiful story about karmic threads and why King Dasharatha actually had to say yes. But also it's a beautiful story about Ram, who, unlike what most of us would say in his circumstance, which is, what? Not fair. Right? I mean, could you imagine just being nothing but good to others? Nothing but honest and sharing, righteous. And then just when you're about to succeed, in the way that's really your due, you're about to become king. Through no fault of your own, but through someone else's polluted mind that we'd have a fit. We'd say, no, not fair, no way. Called him on it. He should never go back on his word. And so Ram says, please, let me. No complaints, no nothing, he goes. His wife goes with him, his brother goes with him. Not because they're obligated to, but because they want to. Long story, 14 years, great battles. Finally, he comes back. And the people of Ayodhya, the city, line the streets with these beautiful lights to welcome back Ram into their midst. And so that's the actual historical significance of the lights. But it's really beautiful on two other levels. Number one, remember that Ram is seen as a divine manifestation, an embodiment of the divine. Like Lord Krishna, Lord Ram is worshipped and seen as the divine on earth. And so when you think about welcoming the divine back, if instead of just thinking about it as, oh, okay, this is a Hindu holiday of their history, the time when this king returned, think about it as an opportunity to welcome the divine back into your heart, back into your life. The lights were that which were lit to welcome back Ram. Well, when we light the lamps, can we light them as a way to welcome the divine back to our hearts? The divine is always there. Grace is always there. God is always there. By any name, any form, it doesn't matter what your spiritual path may be. But we tend to close our hearts sometimes. We lose faith. We get frustrated. Things don't go the way we want, and we decide that, forget it, it means God isn't here. And so our hearts get closed. And Diwali is a beautiful opportunity to open your hearts and re-welcome the divine back. It's also a beautiful opportunity to realize that in that history, after Ram came back to Ayodhya, began an era called Ram Rajya, which is the reign of righteousness, of dharma, of goodness. As I was saying in Aarti, it was a time in which no one was sick, no one was poor, there was no conflict, there was no violence, there was no discrimination. All of the plants, all of the animals, all of the people were healthy and living in peace. And so as we celebrate Diwali, what it means is that it's an opportunity for us all to be part of bringing forth a new Ram Raja, right? If he's coming back today, if today we celebrate Ram's return, then it means now begins this era of righteousness. And that's something that every one of us has the opportunity to be part of. So it's a beautiful opportunity to really ask ourselves, all right, what am I doing to continue and to contribute to this era of righteousness? Am I living in honesty? Am I living in compassion, in sharing? Am I living in such a way that even the grass beneath my feet are happy and healthy? Am I living in a sustainable way? And the last part of Diwali, I mean, there's so much, but I want to make sure we have time for other questions. The last part of Diwali is you'll see we do Lakshmi Puja, worship of the mother goddess in the form of Lakshmi, who's the goddess of prosperity. But the real prosperity that we pray for isn't about the cash in our pockets or about, you know, what university my kid's going to get into or what job I'm going to get. But it's actually that fullness of the heart that makes us realize our cup runneth over. That's abundance. Abundance is that real awareness that I'm so blessed. And each of us is so blessed. We have so much to be grateful for. And so we pray to Mahalakshmi to bless us, not with more cash, but with more clarity, more wisdom, to really see how much we have and how blessed we are, and to feel grateful for that. So that's the three main aspects of this beautiful festival. And of course, it's a festival where people eat lots of sweets. So we'll have sweets at the end of satsang. And come together in love and in joy and in sharing. So I'm so happy to have all of you with us tonight. Questions? Yes. Pichahibia.
Pranam Mataji. Today is a festival of lights. That is what we all know. But my question is, even we have a light, it's a soul as a light. I want to ignite, see, feel, and enjoy the bliss of that. What is the possibility and what is the way? That is my question.
Beautiful. How to access and feel the light within us, that light of our soul. So who we are at the core, at the very core, according to the Vedic tradition, is light, is divinity, is purity. That very deepest core is divine. We are created not just by the Creator, but of the Creator. The dilemma happens that we get stuck in ignorance And so we falsely identify as the body. We start to think I am this physical body. Its size, its shape, its color, its bank account, its role. And when I think I am that, that's when we start to suffer. Not because there's a problem with the body is beautiful and wonderful, but because that leads me to separation. It leads me to objectification. Then I think I'm just this object. And when I don't like its size or its shape or its color, or I don't like the pimple on its nose, or I don't like how it compares to somebody else's size, shape, color, I suffer. And when I identify not only as the physical actual structure, but as its story in society, again we suffer. Because then we want more. Then I want more money so that I can have more things, because that's what I've been told I need to be happy. Are we here? I've been told I need more things to be happy. And so I'm on this constant quest to have more things to fill me. And so I need more money for that. I've also been told what I need is more social status, for which I need money, I need power. So I'm constantly feeling like there's not enough. I don't have enough money, I don't have enough power, I'm not popular enough, I don't have enough followers on Facebook, I'm not beautiful enough, I'm not popular enough, those people have a nicer house, she has a handsomer husband, she's got a better job. Then I'm constantly comparing and judging and feeling lack. And so I suffer. I suffer jealousy. I suffer separation from all of those I'm comparing myself to. But at the most tragic, I suffer separation from my true self. Because that light is infinite. And every time I tell myself that I'm not enough, every time I define myself in some finite way, I'm blocking that light of myself for me. And so our practice becomes a practice of shifting. It's very rare that we get so many beautiful reminders from the universe. So those of you who come to satsang a lot know that I'm all in favor of constant reminders. So it's just this great reminder. Has your mind wandered? Have you gotten distracted? Are you in the past? Are you in the future? Or are you here? Because of course when that goes, we're all right here. The question is, did you have to come back from somewhere? So that false identification blocks me from the fullness of my own self, which is ultimately the source of my joy, of my peace. And so how to find that? Well, it's actually very simple. Doesn't mean easy. Simple and easy are not synonymous, but it's actually quite simple. I need to remove that which is not true self. So the way that I always like to think about this is if you come home from a busy day, stressful day, and you decide you're going to take a hot bath to relax. You turn on the tub and you fill it with warm water and you put in your rose petals and essential oils and whatnot. Before you get in the tub, if you really want to have that experience of what do you have to do? What do you have to do? take off your clothes. Right? If you get in that bath in your suit and tie and shoes and hat and whatnot, you're not going to go, because wet, heavy, soggy clothes are not very enjoyable. So you've got to get naked. In the same way, if I want to experience that as I sink into soul, I have to get naked. I have to take off that which is blocking me from being just in the presence of soul, which is all of the roles that we play, all of the dramas, all of the stories we tell ourselves, all of the false identifications. I mean, think about how most of us identify. If I say to you, "Nice to meet you. Who are you? Tell me about yourself." What are you going to say? Yeah, sure, introduce yourself. Mike de Nonkovia. Yeah, let's say that we've just met over a cup of tea and I say, "Nice to meet you. Tell me about yourself." What are you going to say?
It is immense pleasure for me to present myself in front of a divine soul. I am Mrs. Anita Shroff from Mumbai. Basically, I am a Kannadiga from Karnataka. I do Gayatri Sadhana every day. And my Gurudev is Pujya Sri Vallabha Chaitanya, Guruji of Gayatri Tapabhumi, Karnataka.
Beautiful. Thank you. So we've got a name. Relationships. Okay? Those are all of the body. Where it's from. She didn't give me an age or a weight or a height, but those sometimes arise. They're all physical body. Where it's from, where it lives, what it does, who it knows. But that's not actually you. Because you were you long before you lived in Mumbai, long before you were running Gayatri Sadhana, long before you had a guru. You were you. Who's the I that stays constant? When we identify, it's usually that. This is my job. These are my relationships. Sometimes if you go deeper, you get psychological stuff. I suffer from depression. I'm depressed. I'm an alcoholic. I'm the child of an alcoholic. I'm an addict. I'm the child of an addict. They're relationships and dramas, stories. But they're all of the body. So to know the light of the soul is to realize I am not Alka. I am not from Karnataka. Because I'm not this body. And we slowly, there's a beautiful meditation practice. Some night in our meditations when we don't have fireworks going, we'll do it. It's a beautiful meditation practice called Neti Neti, where you literally just say, I am not this, not that, not my skin, not the bones, not the blood, and you go thing by thing, all the way up into I'm not my thoughts, because I'm not the chemicals or the electrical patterns in my brain. And you slowly remove all of that which you are not until you experience a state that the Hindus refer to as everythingness. The Buddhists refer to as nothingness. But we're talking about the same thing. That experience of just isness. And that's when you experience it. And so it's a beautiful practice to do. When you sit, just allow yourself, I'm not Alka, because that's a name given to the body. What if you changed your name? Would you cease to exist? Right? I mean, what if Pujya Swamiji gave you a spiritual name? You'd still exist. You remove all of that that's changeable. And what you are left with is that which is not changeable. So we remove the ignorance, the darkness, and we're left with light. Right? That's the prayer. When we chant asatoma sadgamaya, tamsoma jyotirgamaya, mrityordama amritam gamaya. It's that exact prayer. Oh God, lead me from the falsehood of separation into the truth of oneness. Lead me from the darkness of ignorance in which I suffer and bring suffering to others into the light of truth. Lead me from the false identification as this physical body that's born and changes and dies to the true identification as that which, as Bhagavan Krishna said in the Gita, cannot be burned by fire, or cut by knives, or wet with water, or dried by the wind. What is that? That's the light of you. And you can practice it, by the way, in your daily life as well. Just a simple word, not self. It's a beautiful practice. Anytime you notice that you're identifying as the body, just allow the mind to say, not self, not self. You're not criticizing yourself, you're not berating yourself, you're not judging yourself. You're simply making a statement of fact, not self. So you look in a mirror, you admire what you see, not self. You look in a mirror, you hate what you see, not self. Someone says to you, oh my God, you are the best thing in the world. You are brilliant and amazing and I love you. And you're just filling with pride, not self. Someone says to you, you are the worst. You are stupid and this and that. You're just feeling so miserable you want to crawl into a hole and die, not self. You get a raise, a promotion, not self. You get fired, not self. Just see how, I've given big examples, but just see how during the day, how many opportunities you have to realize, not self, not self, not self. And then just create that space for what self is to arise. Because it's already there. It's not going to come from somewhere. You just have to feel it and know it. Beautiful. Other questions? Yes.
On that analogy, it's okay, of taking the clothes off, much of the clothes have been taken off, but there's still a few that are stuck that I want to take off. But I have this pull for the family and a little bit for work, but I lost most of that ability. And now I just feel like I'm living in a place that I don't want to be, with my foot there, but everything else is not there.
Beautiful. So, first of all, when we talk about taking off the clothes, it's about our way of thinking and identifying. It doesn't actually mean that you need to leave your job or leave your relationships. It's not that. It's just that we stop identifying as them. So you stay somebody's wife or mother or daughter, but you no longer identify yourself as this is who I am. Because of course there was a you before you became so-and-so's mother. There will be a you after your parents have passed on and you're no longer so-and-so's daughter. There is a you before you get married or after you get divorced. So we are not those roles. But it doesn't mean that we necessarily need to leave the roles. It just means that we don't self-identify as them, so that when there's turmoil in it, it doesn't change our experience of self. If I identify as mother, and now my kids have grown up and moved out and I've got an empty nest, I feel empty. I feel worthless. I feel like my life is meaningless because I identified only as mother. The teaching is about letting go of the identification, not necessarily letting go of the relationship. Similarly with the job, a lot of us have this identification sense with it. We end up working many hours longer than we need to, simply because there's this voice in our head that's constantly saying, higher, higher, higher. As in, the work isn't necessarily meaningful, empowering, uplifting, beneficial in any way, but I've got this thing in my head that says, I've got to become VP. Right? Everybody I started with is becoming VP. I need to become VP. And so I too forsake my family, my spiritual practice, my peace of mind, in order to rush and become VP of a company. So it doesn't mean that we need to leave the job. It just means that we no longer take that as who we are, so that we don't have to get more and more in order to understand that we are full. And such that if I get fired or I quit for some reason, that I don't suddenly feel rudderless and empty. It happens, so many people retire and they feel like, I don't even know who I am anymore, because their whole sense of self was in the job. So that's what that teaching's about. But with you, it seems like we're talking about much more of life decisions and life freedom and life stuckness. And I know that experience. I remember when I first knew that I needed to move back to India and be here, I used to describe it as feeling like one of those people in one of those really bad B comedy movies of like the early 80s, of the guy standing on a boat dock and there's somebody in a boat and he's standing there and he's talking to the people in the boat and he's got one leg on the dock and one leg on the boat, and slowly the boat starts to drift out and you see the guy doing the splits, and eventually he goes plop into the water. And I used to say I felt like that guy. And I knew that I needed to pick my foot up from somewhere, that I had full choice of where I was going to pick it up from, but that to try to keep a foot in both places actually was simply an exercise in futility, and all I was going to do was plop down in the water and drown. And so, of course, for me, it became a foot up from America and both feet in India. There absolutely are times in our life when we need to make decisions like that. But it doesn't mean that we absolutely abandon that world. There's still duties, there's responsibilities, there's things it sounds like you've got. That's okay. There's absolutely no teaching whatsoever in any scripture I've ever heard of that says, do not fulfill your responsibilities, they make you stuck. Every scripture says, fulfill your responsibilities. Do your duty. You will find freedom in that. And realize that your responsibility to yourself is also one of your responsibilities. We tend to forget that. Your responsibility to your capital S self, to your dharma, is also a critical, fundamental responsibility. So when you're looking at the responsibilities, make sure you include that one as well. And there's moments where it's difficult to navigate that. And it's really about doing the best you can, staying open on all levels, and knowing that it will resolve. The path will open, it will resolve. And you will be able to pick up that other foot fully. Yeah. Last question for tonight. We'll start with you tomorrow. Okay? Yeah.
Thank you. Pranam Sadhviji. This question has been in my mind since a long time, but I was just finding the right opportunity and a right person to, ask for. So, sometimes in your life, at certain point, you realize that your life is just not like that. You are not here to be born and live your life and die. So I strongly feel that there is some mission in my life I have to fulfill, but I don't have any clarity that what is that mission, how to know your mission in your life.
Beautiful. So, first of all, to realize every one of us, our highest mission, our highest dharma, is to recognize the truth of ourselves. That's the core. That's the core purpose of our life. If there's not enough room, by the way, on the floor back there, feel free to come and fill in some space in the front too if you run out of space back there. Our core mission is to know who we are. That's the universal dharma. Is to touch that light of the self. Beyond that, then, we have what you consider individual dharma that we come into this world with. And we actually all have a lot of them. I don't subscribe to the idea that each of us has one mission or one dharma. We have a lot. At any given moment, there's a lot. I mean, we have a lot of different dharmas throughout our life, at different phases of life. And then even at any moment, we have dharma. It's been really beautiful for me to see just personally over the last 2 years, where I had spent the last 25 years essentially with my dharma as just be here, teach, serve. And then my mom had a horrible stroke. And then suddenly it was like, boom, dharma, daughter, take care. Eventually bring mom back to India. And it's been really beautiful to realize how the fulfillment of one does not preclude the other. How actually things create more and more space. So I mention this to you because you're going to find that you've got a lot of different dharmas. And the dilemma, the frustration, the depression comes when we see one as higher or better than the other. And then everything else feels like a burden, and one thing feels like what we're supposed to do. And when those burdens are responsibilities that we actually have to fulfill, then we suffer. And that's why it's important to realize those are your dharma also. To be whatever that responsibility may be for now. It may not be your dharma forever, but for right now, you've got this dharma. Then in terms of your actual, you could say, unique gift to share with the world. You know, it's so interesting because every other species on earth knows what to do. Right? I always say it's amazing. We're the only species that doesn't know what to do. Every other species, right? Dogs bark, cats meow, cows moo, birds fly and chirp. You could see, a cat chase a bird to the top of the roof. But if the bird jumps off to fly, the cat's not going to jump off of a 6-story building. It understands, I don't fly, I don't have wings. It knows who it is. We don't. And so what we find is that since we don't know who we are, we don't know what to do. And so that takes us back to understanding that core truth of you as divine, as consciousness, as soul, as love. And your mission will blossom from that. It's going to be to share your love, your light, your gifts in the way that open for you in the universe. And in the way that you co-create in the universe. Don't think that you're going to sit here and your dharma is going to just fall in your lap and you just should sit on the couch and eat potato chips until then. You put one foot in front of the other. You keep doing what seems like the best expression of love, of truth, of consciousness, each moment. With your heart open, your eyes open, of where is it for you, which is the door for you to walk through. And you think about what are the gifts that I have that when I share them, I feel like I am an instrument in God's hands. That I feel that I am a channel for the divine. And then you look for more and more opportunities to do that. Because ultimately that's what it's about, being an instrument in God's hands. And we're all different instruments. Nothing is better, nothing is worse, nothing's higher or lower. But check in with yourself. What are the gifts that when I share them? What are the ways that when I serve? It may be making sandwiches and going out and serving them to the homeless people. It could be anything. It could be the bringer of smiles to everyone who meets you. Our dharma, our purpose, doesn't have to be something that is extraordinary and puts us on the cover of magazines and makes everybody, say, wow, wow, wow. It may be something as simple as sharing a smile and love with everyone I meet. It may be something as simple as bringing a teaching, I think about the guy who cuts rocks, who hammers rocks on the side of the road here. They hammer big rocks into medium rocks, into small rocks to lay the asphalt for the roads. And you think, well, this guy clearly didn't come onto planet Earth with rock hammerer stamped on his rear end. This is your dharma. But maybe he's working double, triple shifts because he doesn't want his daughter begging on the side of the road and he wants her to go to school. And now when his daughter starts to go to school, she's the first daughter, the first girl in their slum to go to school. Now all of the other girls start saying to their parents, I want to go to school. She goes to school, I want to go to school. Now this guy has no idea he's starting a revolution. He's not sitting in his shack planning a revolution for gender equality and, there's going to be a national day named after him. And he's just a rock hammerer. But he loves his daughter and he knows that she should not be begging on the road and she should be in school, which means he's got to work an extra shift. And given how badly his work conditions are, he very well may die before the revolution even happens. He doesn't even know he's created a revolution. But clearly that was his dharma. That was the mission. And so we move forward as anchored as we possibly can be in our hearts, as anchored as we possibly can be in that light of our soul, offering ourselves as an instrument to the divine, as a channel for the divine. And then it's just however you use me. Use me. Beautiful. I want to end here with our Diwali sweets. We've got sweets for everyone. Thank you. And in the meantime that we'll give out sweets, I would ask our beautiful Karen and Shreya and Preeti and whoever's going to join you in Kirtan to come up for Kirtan. We'll take the rest of the questions tomorrow. I want to make sure we've got plenty of time for this beautiful Diwali Kirtan. So have a beautiful, beautiful rest of your evenings. A beautiful day to our family joining us through this gift of technology. And a very, very, very beautiful and blessed and light-filled Diwali to all of you.